If you've been here long enough, you'll know it's been a while since I've worked on my bedroom. The next thing I want to do is make our headboard. So I'm back in B&Q and I'm getting some wood cut. I'm using a 9mm ply and I've had it cut into 150mm strips. They're a metre tall and I've got 16 of them all together. I've ordered a roll of foam, so I'm going to cut this into strips the same size as the pieces of wood. I initially tried to cut this down with a knife, but it wasn't working very well, so I resorted to scissors, and that was much easier. So once they were cut down, I then had to attach them to the pieces of wood, and I did this by using a spray adhesive and then stack them all on top of each other just to weigh them down and just let them dry. So you may have figured out by now that I'm making an upholstered panel headboard. So the next thing I'm doing is adding a layer of wadding. So I've cut this into strips big enough to wrap around each piece. Then I cut off the corners and used my staple gun to attach everything to the back. And then next I did exactly the same thing with the fabric. I've gone with a plush velvet upholstery fabric. It says this is a colour gold, but I'd say it's more of a mustard colour. I wanted to make sure all the corners were nice and tidy, especially on the top part of the headboard, just so it looked nice and straight once it was built. So I had a few ideas of how I wanted to actually attach the headboard to the wall. And as it's going to be 2.5 metres wide, I've decided to make it in 2 sections. I'm going to use the cleat system, in which you use a piece of wood and cut it at a 45-degree angle, and then they slot together. And it should hold nice and firmly, but I've not done this before, so I'm going to find out. So now I've cut all the pieces, I just need to put it together and see if it works. So you can probably see in the background that I have put one half of it together already, but because I messed about with it quite a bit, I thought it'd be easier just to show you what I did on the second one. So I knew the exact width that each section needed to be, so I then marked out on the batten where each of the balls needed to sit. I attached the top batten about 10 centimetres down from the top, and the bottom one about 30 centimetres up from the bottom. And each panel had 2 screws in the top and 2 at the bottom, so it's nice and solid. Thank you for watching, and come back for part 2 to see how I fit it.